Hello, hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have a Protoss versus Terran from two very big and well-known players, so let's go ahead and introduce them. Spawning down here on the bottom right-hand corner of Antiga Shipyard, we have the badass Protoss himself. He is also known as the Kratos Protoss. Let's see how good his PvT is in this game. His name is SKMC. And his opponent, another fellow Korean and belonging to another foreign team. He's going to be spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of Antiga Shipyard as the blue Terran. His recent games have shown he's an indomitable force, and he is definitely doing a lot in the scene right now, taking tournaments left and right. Let's see how he does against the Kratos Protoss. His name is LiquidTaeja. LiquidTaeja, as I was saying, has been destroying and dismantling players as of recently. And it's really been this kind of varying style between doing some big all-ins early on, as well as taking it to that late macro game. He's been very successful, especially against a lot of those Protoss players. But we're going to have to see. MC is definitely not any regular old Protoss player. His micro is top notch. He can take the games into the early game or the mid game or the late game, and it's very difficult to see what kind of big pressure MC is going to do, because if there's one thing you can say about MC is that he does love his pressure builds. Now, speaking of pressure builds, it looks like we are going to be waiting to see whether or not MC does take the second gas, or if he's just going to go for that Nexus off of one gateway. I'm actually more likely and inclined to say he's going to take the Nexus, as generally in this matchup you tend to see Cybernetics score one gate expand, and then the Terran player will likely do something similar. But one thing we do have to note is Taeja did opt to get this gas geyser, so that is going to allow him to get a tech lab first, or potentially even a reactor. It looks like that is going to be the tech lab. Tech lab definitely the more standard choice to get in this matchup. So it's going to allow him to chase away this probe with this one Marine, and in the meanwhile he can go ahead and get some upgrades, and then eventually throw down that command center. Now we do actually see second gas geyser has been taken, so a bit interesting. MC might be looking to put on a little bit of aggression. We do see that this little SCV is going to pop his head in, see exactly what is going on over here in MC's base, and that Zealot is going to go ahead and chase him around, but I'm not sure if he's actually going to be able to kill him. He might have to wait for that Stalker if Taeja's control is top-notch, and there it is, definitely top-notch, pulling away from that Zealot. That Zealot now trying to say, okay, well, if you're going to come in here, you're not going to leave until the Stalker comes out, but SCVs can mineral walk straight through without too much of an issue. And oh my god, this probe actually manages to make its way back into the base, sees that tech lab was thrown down, gets a pretty good scout off, sees that there is in fact no second gas, and that's a very big tell right now. And of course it does finally get picked off, and in the meanwhile Taeja's going to go ahead and grab that expansion. Now I have to say, I'm expecting a pressure build out of MC at this point. We even see that Chrono Boost being used on that warp gate technology. We see a Zealot and Stalker moving out, and it looks like, ooh, might actually be going for an expansion now. Huh, bit interesting. I'm not sure how much I like the fact that he took this second gas geyser and then is going to be going for this expansion. He is going to be just a little bit behind on his opponent, and his opponent is really playing a very greedy style in comparison to MC, where he's gotten this tech lab up to get that early stim. He's going to have this one barracks, and then is going to be going straight for that command center. So he's going to be feeling to be in a pretty comfortable position. And meanwhile, MC is just a tad bit behind on that Nexus. It's not going to be too big of a deal, but of course at this level every little bit counts. Now we do see these two little Stalkers poached over here. I'm really curious to see what he's planning to do with that. I guess right now he might not be entirely sure that expansion has been taken, so it looks like he's just going to play it a little bit safe. I assume that right around now, if Taeja was in fact going for some kind of one base drop play with the starport, that would be around the time right now where that kind of stuff could be popping out. So he's just preparing with these two Stalkers for any kind of Banshee play, any kind of medevac drop play, whatever the case. But in the meanwhile, we see Taeja doing nothing of the sort, going for that regular old Marine Marauder mix. getting that expansion up, and just adding on a couple of barracks, getting a few more reactors in that factory. So it looks like he's going to be going for that 3 racks starport just so he can start getting out those early medevacs, and that's definitely going to give him a little bit of map control. It makes it very difficult for a Protoss player to move out across the map when you are a little bit afraid about the potential for those drops in your main. And Antiga Shipyard, a great map for any of those kind of drop plays. As we can see, look at how much space there's going to be for all the different angles that Taeja can come in at. He can come in along the top side, he can come in along that bottom side, he can even come in around over here and maybe drop the natural expansion. We're going to see whether or not he actually does decide to utilize any of that, or if MC is going to be prepared. He is getting out that observer, so he should have a wind of some of the stuff that's going to be going on relatively soon. And if he decides to get out a second observer, he will be able to position it kind of nicely over here, just on a little bit of patrol, potentially be ready to scout for something. But we do see that starport swapping with that factory, going to get that reactor down and start getting out 2 medevacs at a time, very important. And in the meanwhile, we do see Taeja kind of moving out across the map for a little bit of map control. He's definitely going to be able to, looks like he actually already has the Zelnaga tower. So he's going to have a very good idea of what's going on around the map. And we did actually see that he threw down that scan a bit earlier. Does know that there is that robotic facility, so he's going to be prepared for whatever tech choice MC is really going for right now. We do see double forge going out from MC, and a very sentry heavy army. I'm going to have to see if this is going to come back to haunt him, as with those medevacs popping out. Where are those medevacs? Where are the medevacs? The medevacs are going to be so key for Taeja to make sure he does not just get force field it off. But it looks like MC sees there is that army over there. He's going to go ahead and move his stalkers around, maybe trying to reposition his army a little bit. We actually see, beautiful positioning from this observer. This is what I was talking about. Getting out that second observer is going to allow him to spot around for any kind of potential drop plays that Taeja could be planning. But where the heck are those medevacs? Oh, there they are, finally moving in with that army. So if Taeja does decide to move in over here, sees that there is something that he doesn't want to engage with, as you see, there's one Marine stemming up, gonna get a full circle around, avoiding the entire army of MC. Ooh, the force field is actually being utilized to try and stop that Marine from moving around, but actually ends up working against him a little bit. And look at this, a beautiful scout off, sees that there are both of these forges, getting those double upgrades. He's going to know exactly what MC is up to, knows that that robot facility is there as well, but now we do see a lot of gateways being thrown down, as well as a Twilight Council that's going to be useful for getting those +2/+2 upgrades when that does come to that, as well as that blink for these stalkers is going to be very useful to pick off a lot of those drop plays. It's definitely a defensive move right now, but we're going to have to wait and see how MC is going to decide to respond to the fact that, you know, his opponent kind of has a very solid idea of exactly what's going on. We even see this factory moving in, getting the scout off on all of these additional gateways being thrown down, and now we see, it looks like Taeja's going to feel comfortable seeing that there were all those stalkers a little bit out of position. Now he's going to be able to force field or move straight up the ramp. He does get force field off a little bit, but managed to pick up a few of those sentries. A great play from Taeja. Definitely worth it, in my opinion, to get those sentries picked up, as those sentries, if you let them build up a lot of energy, can definitely work against you in that big engagement. Now we do see that there are just immortals being produced out of this robotic facility, and you know, immortals are good. He does actually already have one, and it's definitely going to be useful. But unfortunately, as the game progresses into the later and later stages of the game, you want, instead of immortals, you want those Colossus to hold out that additional units moving up, and look at that, target fire down on those sentries, doing such a good job picking off those sentries. Unfortunately, he is losing quite a bit of his army, and now is forced on the retreat. Unfortunately for Taeja, even though he's picking off a lot of those high value, high gas units, he ends up losing quite a bit of his army in the meanwhile, and is now forced to retreat all the way back home with that liftoff. And now we can see he doesn't really have a huge army back at home either, so he has to be very careful about what kind of push MC is going to go ahead and decide to do. In the meanwhile, we do see that Twilight Council is researching that blink. That's going to be very useful for picking off any kind of additional drops that are going to be coming in. But I'd have to say that one thing that Taeja's going to have to be very careful of is any kind of big counter aggression from MC. It looks like MC is just going to realize, hey, I have a lot of map control because my army is going to be bigger. If he decides to move out a little bit across the map, now that he has this kind of a nice little force of stalkers, he could leave maybe just a couple with that blink and then move out across the map, try and do a little bit of pressure and deny this third. But it looks like he's actually not going to be opting to do that right now. Instead, he's just going to be kind of sitting at home defending this third. It looks like he's still a little bit worried about getting picked apart a bit too much from different angles by different angles by the drops. Now we do see A couple units from Taeja moving their way across the map. This Zealot getting a little bit of a scout off, telling his friends, the Immortals, that there are those Marauders that those Immortals definitely need to shoot at. And it looks like we're actually going to be seeing a big engagement. There's that Blink definitely being utilized very well to come down to the low ground, being able to help defend immediately. And we do actually even see a nice little pick off with that Blink, being able to kill off one of those medevacs. So another great play about Blink is that it stops your opponent from being able to easily retreat without taking a lot of damage. Now we do see that this army is going to be moving around a little bit, and we actually see the factory moving in. It's going to get picked off by these stalkers for certain, but in the meanwhile, we do see this third finishing up for Taeja, third finishing up for MC, so it looks like we're going to see this game go on a little bit longer, but unfortunately for, I guess, well, not really unfortunately for either of these players, but both these players definitely have to be very, very careful not to be caught out of position. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at where MC's army is positioned. Look at how Zealot heavy it is and where all the stalkers are. Now we're going to be seeing this big Doom drop coming into the main. And oh my god, this cannon is going to be able to pick off one of those medevacs. No, it actually gets picked off first. But now we do see this giant Doom drop being able to do a ton of damage. Actually going to be able to cancel the charge. That is huge. Look at how heavy Zealot heavy the army of MC is right now. And now we see the Nexus going to be picked off. A lot of the pylons depowering the robotic facility and these 3 gateways. Now in this great position, he's able to do a lot of damage against all of these Zealots. And if he wants to, he can even decide to try and pick up all of his army and try and run. But he still has to be very careful trying to target fire down those stalkers to make sure that he does not just get blunked onto with all of those stalkers on the medevacs to stop the retreat. But it looks like he's not even going to worry about that. Going to be able to pick off so many of those units, and so many of those stalkers have been picked off, even though there are so many Zealots left over. The Zealots only cost minerals, and those are not the units he wants to be saving right now. At the same time, there is a second bit of aggression over here with his Marine Marauder force and additional medevacs picking off all these Zealots. These Zealots are doing a good job buying time for the rest of the army to get down over there, but he has to be very careful as Taeja can just lift up and go into the main again, and this is exactly exploiting all that immobility of those Zealots. Look at this, a fabulous play from Taeja. He's just going to be picking MC apart, saying, hey, you didn't get your charge finished, so now you're going to be so immobile. Look at that. All the gateways are depowered. I don't think he has any other gateways anywhere else. He's trying to rebuild a couple of gateways over as natural, but now the main Nexus does get picked up, and only Sentry is able to try and do some damage to those medevacs, and those medevacs are going to get away quite safely with the remaining units. And we see a couple of additional units from Taeja kind of moving into the third, poking, but there are a couple of Zealots over there going to delay that push. So Taeja's going to go ahead and safely regroup. He knows he's in such a fabulous position. He stopped the mining of these, most importantly, these 2 gas guys, because a lot of these minerals were already basically getting depleted. But he stopped that charge from being able to be researched. He depowered a lot of these gateways. He's basically pulled MC apart, forced him to create a bunch of units to defend now. And now, the longer that Taeja waits to just build up this massive army, better position he's going to be in. And now it looks like he's going to move into the third. I don't exactly like the positioning from Taeja as he's moving up across the ramp, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter. He just has so many units that he's going to be able to pick up all of these Immortals. And there's going to be the GG from SKMC. Very well played by Taeja. We can see why he's been dominating so hard in the recent tournaments as of late. So if you want to see more of Taeja, you can go ahead and tune in to MLG Rally if you're watching this around the time that this video releases. If not, just go ahead and check out a lot of the games from Taeja around this time period. You'll see what an indomitable force he's been. Basically, as of recently, he's been playing so well. And not to take away from MC. MC played that very well, but it's so difficult when you can get picked apart like that. And yeah, that's basically going to be GG. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys like my video and commentary. So if you do in any capacity whatsoever, please go ahead and like and subscribe the video itself, and maybe even leave a comment, maybe some feedback, saying what you'd like to see from my casting, just in terms of improvement. If you have any other suggestions, love to hear them. But yeah, also submit your replays that you want casted to feardragon64@gmail.com. My Twitch TV channel is twitch.tv/feardragon64. I do a couple of events, including Collegiate Star League casts and balance battles. You can go ahead and check those out in my past video archives. Ooh, nice little lightning flickering around over there. But that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.